Hello and welcome to this session this evening. Um, we are going to be focusing, you'll have to excuse me, I'm losing my voice, but this evening we're going to be focusing on preparation for adulthood. So we're just waiting for everybody to join and then we'll get started. Okay, so I'm going to do introductions and explain to people how the session will work. And then Abby's going to present and then we'll come to Alice, Harshi and Tansy. So welcome everybody to this evening's webinar session. Just want to tell you how the presentation will work and how Zoom is working at the moment. You'll have to excuse me because I'm losing my voice. Hi, my name's Sharon. I am the DSA Education Advisor. And I will let everybody introduce themselves shortly. I'm joined next to me by Tansy, who's my daughter, but she'll introduce herself in a minute. This evening's session is going to run from now until 8:30 p.m. It is being recorded, so we will hope that a copy of this will be put online on the Down Syndrome Association YouTube and website. Because it's a webinar format, we can't see or hear attendees. So you can only see the people that are here on the panel now. There's a question and answer button that hopefully you can see. If you have any questions as we go through the session for anybody on the panel, please put them in the Q&A. If there's just general chat, or if people are wanting to share links or resources or respond to, I know there's an activity that the girls are going to present to you. If you could respond in the chat, that would be great. But please, if you could keep any questions for the panel into the Q&A, that would be much appreciated. So this evening, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome, first of all, Abigail Harris, who is one of the Down Syndrome Association's information officers, and I'll let her introduce herself shortly. And Abby is going to do our first presentation. And then she is going to be followed by a co-produced presentation with Alice McCall from NDTI and Tansy, who is sat with me, and also Harshi. Harshi and Tansy are members of the Down Syndrome Association, Our Voice. So they know Abby as well, don't you?
Yes.
And Tansy's got her Our Voice t-shirt on, just for the evening. To show that. But they've also been involved with a programme called Time to Talk and Time to Talk Next Steps that Alice and the girls are going to talk to you about. You can see Gillian Bird is also on the screen, but not on the screen. Jill is here to kindly help me this evening with all things technical, because I'm not really sure what I'm doing with Zoom webinars, so please bear with me. So what I'd like to do just to get us started is if I could just ask everybody in turn to introduce themselves, and then I'll hand over to Abby. So Abby, would you like to introduce yourself first, please?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Abby, as Sharon said, and I'm one of the information officers at the DSA. The information team work on producing training and various resources and running support groups online. So you may have seen our work before. And I'm delighted to be here with you all this evening.
Thank you. Alice, could I ask you to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm Alice McCall. I work at NDTI, and I'm going to say a bit more about what I do later. I'm not in the army, but I'm in my son's bedroom, and he wants to go in the army. So, yeah, hence the backdrop. But it's great to be here, and thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Harshi, would you like to introduce yourself?
So, my name is Harshi, and I am 19 years old now, and I work with Our Voice and Time to Talk Next Step.
Thank you, Harshi. And
Okay.
Tansy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course.
Go on then.
Okay, so my name's Tansy Smith and I'm 18 years old. I am the young person of Time to Talk Next Steps
And training squad.
and training squad.
Thank you. Okay, so I would like to hand over to Abby. We're going to have a presentation from Abby first, and then Alice, Tansy and Harshi are going to present, and then we'll have time at the end for questions and answers. Thanks, Abby, over to you.
Lovely, thank you so much. Can you hear me and see my screen okay?
Yes, to both.
Lovely, thank you. Great. So, as we've said, my name's Abigail Harris, if you're being formal, but my name's Abby, and I'm an information officer, and I work with the rest of the information team here at the DSA, and I have 12 years professional experience in supporting people who have learning disabilities. I've worked previously in residential care, and I run drama clubs for people who have learning disabilities. And then personal experience is that my younger sister also has Down syndrome, and she is an adult, so I've got that personal experience of watching her develop into an adult as well. So today I'm going to talk about the DSA resources that we have about preparation for adulthood, and the work we do around that topic, and then use our voice as a bit of a case study to talk about how you can develop that confidence in the young people you support or your relatives, as well as encouraging self-advocacy and speaking up for yourself. So first of all, this is a screen grab from the website. So if you go to the Down syndrome section, and over on the right-hand side, there's web pages called Family and Education. And if you scroll down the page, you will find the transition section on the website here. And I'll talk a bit more about these particular resources later on. So first I wanted to flag a video from my colleague Stuart Mills, who's also an information officer. And the video is called Who Decides? Decision Making from 16 Years Old. And I wanted to flag this in particular because it's such a fantastic video with so much information in it, and many of you might have seen it already. It gives an overview of the Mental Capacity Act, and then perhaps more importantly, the code of practice, so how the act is applied in real world situations. It's important because lots of people don't necessarily know that from the age of 16, it's assumed that people can make a decision for themselves. People often think it would be 18 years old when you legally become an adult. But from 16, health and social care professionals will assume that someone who has Down syndrome can make decisions and give consent unless this is shown not to be the case. So it's assumed that someone can make a decision. And this is on a case-by-case basis. So even if it was decided that there was one particular decision that someone couldn't make and a best interests meeting was held to make that decision on their behalf, this is just for that one decision, and all other decisions are assumed to be understood and the person is able to make them until it's assumed otherwise. The video also goes on to explain how someone can be supported to have capacity. So you can use accessible information and other tools to support someone to have capacity to make a decision. And Stuart provides examples of how to do this. So to go back to those resources that I spoke about here, the first one is called the 13+ Transition Easy Read. And this is an easy read to explain what a young person's transition meeting will be like in year 9. So it's for the 13 or 14-year-old who has Down syndrome to get an idea of what that transition meeting will look like. what would you like for your future? What a huge question. So this can look at housing, do you have an idea of who you might like to live with in the future, whether that's your family or your friends or independently or something different? Do you know what sort of work you might like to do? What are your interests? Do you like working by yourself or with a team or in a mix? How would you like to continue engaging in your community when you're an adult and maybe when you've left education? There are so many big questions for everyone's future when you start thinking about it, that anyone, whether they have Down syndrome or not, would struggle to answer at the age of 13 or 14. But the idea is to get the ball rolling and start having these conversations and thinking about these things. The next document that I'll talk about is encouraging independence, and I've flagged the most relevant quote in my opinion here. People who have Down syndrome can sometimes find it hard to imagine what something is like if they haven't experienced it. And again, perhaps that applies to everybody anyway. So that document is for parents and family carers to think about what experiences they can support someone to have, to think about what their future might look like. So I talked about housing just now. If you're thinking about where someone might move to, is there a way that they can go to that setting, maybe even stay the night and experience it? The same with all kinds of further education, whether that's moving to a college, still a day setting, or moving to a residential college setting. Are there ways that someone can go along and see what it's like? So that document talks about how to encourage taking those steps towards independence. And then another document is called Planning for Adulthood. And this gives information for parents about the Year 9 review, which contains, as I was saying, thoughts on further education, work, living arrangements, being part of your community, and all those huge things that there are to think about. And it also flags for you the transition from child to adult services, both in health, so this would be from a paediatrician to your GP, for example, and in social care, so from child social services to adult social services. And it's useful to start thinking about those things at around age 14, because the transitions may start happening from 16 to 18 years old. So it's best to start thinking about those things, if you can, a little bit earlier. And then 3 of the other documents that are in that Planning for Adulthood section are the Mental Capacity Act, Frequently Asked Questions, Making Decisions Post-16, and Decision Making and Lasting Power of Attorney. And I haven't put anything additional there because it's all in Stuart's video that I mentioned earlier, but sometimes it's useful to have it all written out in those documents. So if you're interested in any of those topics, then do go to that section of the website and have a look. And then when it comes to sort of the next stage post further education and all the rest of it, we have the housing and support web pages on the website as well. And I can't include, well, I could, but it would be slides and slides long if I included everything. So just to say that there are extensive housing documents and support documents on our website to go and have a look at all the different things to do with those big parts of adult life. So the work we do at the DSA to help with transitions and preparation for adulthood and independence, the helpline is always here. So you can just phone up Monday to Friday, 10 till 4, and someone will call you back. But if that doesn't work for you for whatever reason, you can email in and either have email correspondence with a member of the team, or email in and say, I can only talk in my lunch break, and and arrange a time to speak that way. We also have lots of training and support online. You have found this, so I'm sure you can find other sessions as well. So for example, next Monday we have a supporting adults who have Down syndrome training webinar, which is 1:30 till 3, but everyone who signs up will be sent a recording of the webinar. So all you need to do is register and the recording will be sent to you. And then we have our communications channel. So if you are a social media person, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to us on YouTube, because we regularly put out information about all these different things that my fellow panelists are going to be continuing talking about in a moment. Encouraging independence, making transitions. We're always putting out information about it. And I have nobly included an example of a video I made recently about supporting self-advocacy. To talk a little bit about that, this video discusses how everyone can make choices, no matter how they communicate. It doesn't have to be through spoken language. And to think about how information can be presented to the person relevant to you, your son or daughter, or the person you're supporting. How is information best presented to them? Try to take as much time as the person needs. So if you need to put a thought to someone the day before in order to return to it the next day and discuss it then. And thinking about how decision making is a skill, so practicing and continuing working on that skill is useful. Trying to remain unbiased, so to allow your person to form their own interests, even if it's means that you're supporting opposing football teams. Try to allow that your young person is going to grow up and become an adult in their own right, and might have different opinions to yours. So trying to remain that, and trying to keep bias out of your language so that you can try to find out their true opinion, and not have them base their thoughts on your thoughts. Trying to think if there's anything else going on that might affect a decision. Do they always choose that coat because they can reach that coat and they can't reach another coat? So trying to think of extenuating factors in decision making. And then bearing in mind long-term goals. So if someone has told you that they would like to come along to Our Voice, but every time it comes to 2:30 on a Tuesday and it's time to log on to Our Voice and they say, oh no, I don't want to go, is it because they were feeling rushed, or is it because they're feeling nervous because they haven't been before? Can you the next week rewind a bit, maybe look at the weekend or on Monday? In this example, phone us up so that your person could meet myself and my colleagues before the session starts. Is there something you can do to facilitate a long-term goal that someone has expressed? So that's just an example of the sort of advice we're putting out all the time. And then finally, to talk about Our Voice, as Sharon mentioned, Harshi and Tanzi are both members of Our Voice, and we know from what the members have told us, as well as family members and supporters as well, that this group does help with encouraging independence. And these are a few of the ways that can happen. in our most relaxed sessions, we share news and things we're looking forward to, and happy things that might have happened in the family, and things like that. And everyone listens to each other and comments on what they're hearing, and might have a question to ask or something to add to what someone said. And our group ranges from those in their teens to those in their 40s. And I don't know about you, but I don't think I'm in any social groups myself that have that age range. So that's really useful for people to be hearing from people at quite a different stage of life to them. And I can see that having an effect. Another thing is that members often provide feedback on third-party documents that we're given or videos that are being made. And they're almost always asked, what do you like about this? What do you dislike about this? And again, this is such a crucial life skill for everybody, to be able to say what you like, and not just what you dislike, but what you would change and have instead. So we're developing, critical thinking skills in that way, and how to deliver feedback. I've put here, to be polite, meeting guests. But what I actually mean is meeting total strangers. So we will have sessions where people who the members have never met will come along. For example, we had students recently from Cambridge Medical School, and the members of Our Voice told the students their advice for how they could be the best doctors possible, which was fantastic. And so to have the confidence to meet strangers and do that was wonderful to see. And to go back to something I said earlier, there's a range of communication in the group. So some people will speak at length, and some people won't. They might share a few words, or say something to a supporter who can expand on that. So it's useful for everyone involved in that, both for the members to get used to meeting people and expressing themselves, and for the guests who come along to hear from such a fantastic group of people. And then finally, the members get to see the work that they're doing in the output that we make. So recently, we've had our My Perspective photography competition, and one of our members featured in the trailer. Our communications team made the trailer, sent it across to Our Voice, and said, what do you like? What do you dislike? What would you change? And they said, I think someone from Our Voice should be presenting this. And the communications team said, yeah, that's a good idea. And so Alex did present the trailer, and then that was put out on our YouTube channel. And if you've had a look at our YouTube channel, and I do recommend it, it's full of videos from Our Voice members. So that's fantastic to, not only put across your voice and have me listen to it, but for it then to be included in the work that goes out there. So those are a few examples of things that might be able to be included in the things your young person, probably, as you're at this webinar, is doing in their daily life, and something to think about for skills for encouraging that independence. And here are some lovely photos of to symbolize the work the DSA does. And I shall hand back over to Sharon if she can speak.
Hopefully I'll last the evening. Abby, thank you so much. That was really useful to hear. As you were talking, I've been trying to put lots of links into the chat for everybody.
Yes.
So that they can access those and quickly see the things that you've been talking about. And I think I just want to add as well that as part of this education information campaign that we are currently working on, and that this event is part of, I also came along to Our Voice, and they gave lots of ideas about what they wanted educators and also families to hear about education, and they've definitely helped shape what information we're sharing, but also they've all been contributing as well to making videos. Or so Harshi did a case study article she wrote about herself and engaging in the local community, and this week Tansy's video about travel training is live as well, so do have a look at that. And as Abby said, the YouTube channel, which I've put in the chat, is absolutely wonderful with lots and lots of videos. I find myself getting lost in it for hours. I just sort of start watching and keep going and keep going. So thank you so much. If anybody has got any questions for Abby, please do put them in the Q&A. It doesn't necessarily, I'm going to put Abby on the spot here, it doesn't necessarily have to be about what Abby has talked about, but you might just have a question about independence, or supporting people who have Down syndrome to prepare for adulthood or develop independence. And I'm sure as one of our information officers, Abby will be able to help with those questions, as well as obviously responding to any questions about her own presentation. Thank you, Abby.